"This isn't football. Manchester City's 2-4-3-1 is a different sport," is not just a headline. It is a feeling that hits you the moment you watch Pep Guardiola's Manchester City dominate games in a way that feels alien to everything football once was. Because what City are doing right now goes beyond tactics, beyond formations, and beyond normal understanding of space, time, and control, as they line up on paper in a 2-4-3-1, but in reality shrinks for opponents and expands endlessly for City players. And from the first whistle, you can sense that this is not a contest between two teams, but an exercise in domination, where one side is trying to survive and the other is calmly dismantling every defensive idea modern football has built over decades. And it starts at the back, where the so-called two defenders are not traditional center-backs sitting deep and clearing danger, but highly technical players positioned on the halfway line, acting as the foundation stones of a structure that stretches forward and backward simultaneously, as they invite pressure not out of arrogance but calculation, knowing that every step an opponent takes forward creates a weakness elsewhere. And ahead of them, the four-man line are controllers, occupiers, manipulators of space, players who drift inside, outside, forward, and backward depending on the moment and the opponent and the phase of play, forming passing triangles and diamonds that suffocate pressing teams and exhaust low blocks as they recycle possession with patience cracks. And then comes the three attacking midfielders, floating behind the striker, operating in half spaces where defenders are unsure whether to step out or hold their line. And that hesitation is fatal, because Pep City thrives on doubt, thrives on indecision, thrives on the split second where a defender looks left instead of right, and in that moment the game is over. A through ball is played, a cutback is delivered, or a tap-in is finished. And what makes this system feel like a different sport is not just the goals or the dominance, but the team psychologically by denying them touches, denying them transitions, denying them belief. And when opponents finally win the ball, they are immediately hunted by a coordinated counterpress that feels like a swarm, as 4 or 5 City players collapse on the ball carrier from every angle, forcing rushed decisions and cheap turnovers. And this relentless pressure means that even strong, athletic teams look weak, even organized defenses look chaotic, and even elite managers look helpless on the touchline. Because how do you plan against a team that can change shape 10 times in one move? How do you press a side that invites pressure only to escape it with one-touch combinations? How do you sit deep against a team that pins you back with 5 or 6 players between the lines and stretches you wide with overlapping runs that appear out of nowhere? And this is where the 2-4-3-1 becomes less of a formation and more of a philosophy, a living, breathing structure that adapts to every opponent, every game state, and every moment. And Pep Guardiola did not invent this system overnight. It is the result of years of experimentation, from Barcelona to Bayern Munich to Manchester City, refining ideas, breaking conventions, and pushing football to its limits. And what we are seeing now is the most extreme expression of his beliefs, where positional play meets chaos, control meets freedom, and structure meets improvisation. And the players are not just following instructions, they are at a And when you watch City circulate the ball from side to side, drawing opponents out of position, you realize that the goal is not to attack quickly, but to attack correctly, to wait for the perfect moment when the defense is stretched to its breaking point, and then strike with surgical precision. And that patience is devastating, because it drains opponents physically and mentally, forcing them to chase shadows and question their own discipline and belief. And as the minutes tick by, you can see heads drop, legs tire, and spaces open, and City pounce without mercy. And this is why matches often feel over long before the final when to accelerate and when to slow it down, turning football into something closer to a possession-based endurance test, where the team without the ball is constantly reacting, constantly adjusting, constantly suffering. And the striker in this system often looks isolated on paper, but in reality is the final piece of the puzzle, a reference point who pins defenders, creates space, and finishes moves with ruthless efficiency, benefiting from the endless supply of chances created by the movement and creativity behind him. And what makes this even more terrifying is that City do not rely on individual brilliance alone. While they have players capable of magic, their dominance comes from collective understanding, from patterns rehearsed endlessly on the training ground, from automatisms that kick in under excellence of every player on the pitch, even the defenders, even the goalkeeper. You get a team that can build from the back under any press and escape any trap, making pressing them feel like a trap in itself. And this is why so many teams abandon their usual approach against City, dropping deeper, changing shape, and because City are equally comfortable breaking down deep blocks, using width, rotations, and late runs into the box to create overloads. And this adaptability is what elevates the 2-4-3-1 from a clever idea to a revolutionary system, because it offers solutions to every problem football can throw at it. And the scariest part is that it still feels like a work in progress, because Pep Guardiola is never satisfied, always tweak bigger picture. You realize that Manchester City are not just winning games, they're redefining how the game is played at the highest level, forcing other teams to evolve or fall behind, and inspiring endless tactical debates among fans, analysts, and coaches who try to understand and replicate what they are seeing. And this is why watching City can feel less like watching football and more like witnessing a glimpse of the future, because the speed of thought, the precision of movement, and the level of control on display push the boundaries of what seems possible on a football pitch. And while some criticize it as robotic or boring, those who truly understand the game see the beauty in the complexity, the artistry in the structure, and the genius in the details. Because every pass, every run, and every rotation serves a purpose within a larger plan. And that cohesion is rare and incredibly difficult to achieve. And it is built on trust in teammates, trust in the system, and trust in the manager. And that trust allows players to take risks, to position themselves in unconventional areas, and to play with confidence, knowing that the structure behind them will protect them. And as a result, City play with a calm authority that borders on arrogance, not because they underestimate opponents, but because they believe completely in what they are doing. And that belief is contagious, spreading from the pitch to the stands, and creating an aura of inevitability around the team, where even when they go behind, you expect them to respond. Different sport, because it operates on a different mental level, where games are not chaotic battles decided by moments, but controlled experiments guided by principles and executed with precision. And as long as Pep Guardiola remains